So, my name is Kimberly Hackett. I'm a therapeutic parent coach. I help parents make parenting challenges into opportunities for personal growth, healing, and repair. I help parents move into leadership by looking at reactivity as this opportunity. So, reactivity is where our attention needs to go when things are not going the way we want them to go with our kids. So, Angela messaged me and asked me, how do I stop refereeing my adult kids fighting? And she also wrote, I'm stuck in the middle trying to referee them. I didn't do that when they were children, but I notice I'm doing it now. I've forgotten how to parent. So being the parent to adult kids is actually different than being the parent to younger kids who are still growing and becoming and looking to you for leadership. So it's a little bit different, but the triggers are the same. The bottom line is you don't like the fighting. It makes you uncomfortable. It causes you to react. And when you react, my guess is you move into refereeing them. And you referee them because you're trying to stop this uncomfortable feeling inside of you. No parent wants their children to fight. It's uncomfortable. So we work very hard to manage our children when they're smaller. Even though you said you didn't do this when your kids were smaller, you're doing it now. And you made a reference to your sons being married. No parent likes their children to argue. So it's very easy management response to try to stop them from fighting. But what ends up happening is when we do this, we create more energy around the fighting. So the goal here is for you to take care of yourself. And taking care of yourself means really acknowledging that you're triggered and that you're uncomfortable and you don't like it. But moving into refereeing them, which is managing them, is actually not going to solve the problem for you, right? To take care of yourself, you're going to have to be in touch with the reactivity inside of you. And what is it? Where's it coming from? Why is it there? Why do you feel like you have to referee? So just having that inner conversation. So you can't control your kids. We all think we can, but we can't. We cannot control our kids. We can have a relationship with them. We can have expectations. We can have boundaries. But we actually can't control them day to day, minute to minute. We just can't. They are going to do their own thing. So when your children are fighting, your adult kids are fighting, that actually has nothing to do with you. So the goal here is for you to step aside and take care of yourself. Ask yourself, what do you need? You need them to stop fighting. And then how are you going to get that need met? You need to set a boundary. So my suggestion for you is the action steps is that have a meeting with your sons. So not with the wives, just with you and your two sons, and ask them to listen to you without interrupting. And even to repeat back what you're saying to them so you make sure they hear you. And you're telling them how you feel about their fighting. And you're also letting them know you can't do anything about their fighting. And that you're going to set a boundary for yourself, right? You're going to come up with a strategy with them, letting them know about how to move forward from this point on. You might not be able to commit to it 100% because you're going to get triggered, and when you get triggered, you're going to end up wanting to referee again. But your goal is not to intervene. Your goal is to say, when you fight, I want you to leave the house. When you're fighting, I don't want to talk to you on the phone. When you're fighting, this has got nothing to do with me. Talk to your brother. You step out of that relationship. That's setting a boundary. Honoring your boundary is honoring yourself. So it'll be hard at first, for sure, because that reactivity feels so powerful and it wants to take over and take care of the problem of your children fighting, right? To make you feel safer, more comfortable. But for you to actually move into leadership with your sons is you're going to have to be with that feeling yourself and know that if you react and start to referee, you're perpetuating this cycle. And you're actually creating more conflict with your sons because now you're part of the fight. You're part of that scene. You're part of that script. So you got to take yourself out of it, 100%. But you got to give your kids a heads up. You got to let them know. So when you get to that place where you are triggered by your son's fighting, you know what to do. You've given yourself a script. Your kids know what you're going to do because you've told them, and then you just do it. So that's the action. So have a family meeting with your sons. Tell them how you feel. Ask them to repeat back. Make it like 5 to 10 minutes, very short. Tell them how you feel about the fighting. That's okay. You're allowed to tell them how you feel. You can't control the fighting. You can't guilt them into stop fighting, but you can say, I don't like it when you fight in front of me. I actually don't want to be part of this fighting that's going on between the two of you. I want you guys to work it out on your own someplace else. So that's a boundary I'm setting. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. So here's what I want from you. I don't want you to do it in front of me. And then your job is to honor your boundary. You have to follow through with yourself that you're not going to every single time move into refereeing, because if you do, those words that you spoke to them mean nothing. So you need to say, I'm going to work at this. I might not be getting it right every single time, and maybe you can help me out. Say, Mom, you're refereeing again, and that gives me a heads up to step back. But I'm going to say to you, when you're fighting, I need you to leave the room. Something like that, right? So you have a concrete plan, a relationship plan, a solution to the problem that you both know you can follow when it happens again. Because when you are triggered and your back's against the wall, there's nothing, you're going to go right back to automatic pilot. You're going to do exactly what you always do, which is refereeing. And your kids are going to expect that from you. So to change that, you have to change something inside of you. Set a boundary, take care of yourself. That's it. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Thanks for writing. I have one more question. This is from Dolores. This is such an important question as well. And it's, how can I talk to my child about being around kids who use drugs? I'm going to just refer to this child as a son. So if you haven't already, I recommend you go to my website, KimberlyHackett.com, and download the No Conflict Parent-Teen Meeting Guide or ebook, because I'm going to be referencing some of the information in that ebook in this feedback to you today. So what is true is that every child from a pretty young age now is exposed to drugs. If not directly, indirectly, through gossip, at a party, birthday party, obviously through social media. It is not something that you can hide from. It is there. Unfortunately, it is almost like going to the lunch counter in the school cafeteria, and the normalcy of having drugs be available to kids today is like buying a carton of milk. I mean, it's that extreme. So that has to be something that we have to really sort of get. You're not going to be able to keep your child from being exposed to drugs. Now, your question is, how do I keep my son, from being around kids who use drugs? So that's a little bit of a different conversation, right? So maybe you think you know, or you do know that your son is hanging out with other kids who are doing drugs. They're on the street corner. You see it. And suddenly now you know your son's on the street corner with those kids. And that's a problem, right? Because who your child is hanging out with, it reflects who your child is in that moment. So if you think your child is different than the kids that your child is hanging out with, you are fooling yourself, because your child is who they're hanging out with, because they are influenced and shaped by the community of people they're socializing with. So you want to know who your child is, and you don't have an idea, see who their friends are. So this mom, Dolores, it's right for you to red flag this. If your son is hanging out with kids who are doing drugs, it's pretty likely your son is participating on some level. So that's scary. And that's the first thing to recognize. That's really scary. How do I have a conversation with my teenage son about his friends who he's really bonded with, who are doing drugs, and I think my son is starting to go in that direction? How do I bring that up? Well, first of all, you have to recognize that's scary. That brings up feelings. And those feelings are triggers. That's what reactivity is. So whatever those feelings are, you have to sort of notice that first. If you react, if you parent from reactivity, your child will always react to you. So if you're afraid, for example, I don't know your situation, so I'm just going to do this overview. If you're afraid of talking about drugs with your child because you don't know how to, you don't know what the conversation is, you're afraid of alienating your child, you're afraid of having a conflict with your child, you're afraid of not knowing even what the language is, you're just uncomfortable. You have no idea. Your son finally has friends and he's not had friends before. You know, something is going on that's triggering you. Your child will react to you every single time. If you parent from reactivity, then your child will react. Reactivity is how we protect ourselves, right? So if you're reacting to your child because you're afraid, for whatever reason, your child will react to you. So that conversation becomes not really a conversation, right? It's like two ends of a rope pulling on each other. So you got to loosen the tension between parent and child to talk about these deeper issues. And that starts with the parent loosening the tension on their end. So then the child automatically, will unwillingly, probably, often, if he's a teenager, has to loosen as well. And in that space, now you have room for a real conversation, because the parent isn't protecting themselves. It's not parenting from reactivity. You do not want fear to do the talking, though fear can exist, absolutely. You can have fear existing inside of you when you're talking to your child about something scary. It can be there, but you do not want it to rule. It's like what comes to mind is someone learning how to do a tightrope. And on the low to the ground, right? But to be on a tightrope, it's scary, right? But you know but if you let the fear take over, you're not going to do that. But if you allow yourself to know that it's scary, and I also can be calm and present at the same time, I'm actually going to be able to work my way along this tightrope. So you could have 2 or 3 feelings at once. The goal is not to let the scary take over and do the parent talking for you. That's the goal. So you have to have a relationship with the feeling. Like, okay, just acknowledging, yeah, I'm scared. So take some time and then circle back to your child when you know the scary isn't doing the talking. I always say to parents, take a time out. In the conversation, if you start to get super triggered, don't keep talking. Take a time out and say, okay, I'm a little triggered right now. I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm a little scared. Give me a break. I'm gonna come back. Take a break, walk away, and then circle back. You gotta circle back. You gotta keep the conversation going, because that's the goal. And then the goal really, besides keeping the conversation going, you know, you want to surface what's going on internally in your child, right? So you're going to ask them questions, not investigate, you know, like you're not like a investigator saying, okay, why, who? You're asking questions from curiosity. You know, you're letting your child know, I'm actually really curious about this. I don't know. Let your child teach you what's going on. These family meetings are one of many. You're not going to solve a problem. You're not going to come to a solution or a conclusion in one meeting. No, not on these bigger, deeper issues. These formation, these identity issues. You know, when a child is experimenting with things, you're not going to solve that problem in one conversation. This is an ongoing conversation that's built on trust and consistency. So you're letting your child know, I want to talk to you about this. Right? You're the parent leader. You're setting this. You're setting the goal, or you're saying we're going to talk about this, and you bring up the conversation, and you stay on task. You don't stack. You don't bring up other issues. You say one question. I want to talk to you about, drugs at school. I want to talk to you about, are your friends using drugs? That's a big, tough question to ask. But you only stay there. You don't go off onto other subjects, because when you do, you get lost, right? And you lose the thread. So stay on one topic. So the goal is being curious, knowing the fears there, but staying put and staying engaged in the conversation, right? If the minute you start feeling reactive, your child's going to shut down and turn away and react to you, or in some way give you what you think you want. Oh yeah, no, mom, that's not me. I'm not doing that. And you're like, okay, fine, I'm out of here. No, stay put, stay engaged in the conversation. Ask questions and listen. The goal, again, is, besides to stay put and stay curious, is to talk about the truth, to tell the truth. This scares me. This does scare me. I'm wondering, what's going on. And because if you say you cannot hang out with those kids, what's your son going to do? I wonder how we can solve this problem. I wonder if this is a problem. Is this a problem? Right? You're paying attention. You're really engaged. You're being firm and loving, clean and clear. You're letting your child know you're paying attention. You're letting your child know that this issue is super important to you and that you're not afraid. You're not going to let fear take over. And you're going to keep talking about this. The power of conversation, the power of connection, the power of the parent-child relationship is enormous. You can really redirect your child's day-to-day choices by having engaged conversations with them. The non-judgmental, non-reactive, engaged conversations with them. And your child starts, and because you're not doing all the talking, you're letting them explore these issues as well. You're surfacing. And I gotta say one more thing before we close. Expectations. You have an expectation of your child. You're not saying, let's talk about it and we'll see what happens. No. You're saying, I have an expectation that you're not gonna go down that road and that you're gonna make really good decisions. But I wanna be involved in this process. And you're gonna problem solve together day to day. And it might mean you may have to make some tough choices along the way when you realize your son is not responding, and but right now you gotta get a good conversation going, an honest conversation. And that means you're gonna have to make adjustments. So what we've talked about today is really two things. We're really talking about leadership. The parent moving into a leadership role and setting the standard. Both Dolores and Angela, you guys are really about, call a meeting. Tell the truth. Say how you feel and listen for sure. Less listening for Angela. More, setting a really clear boundary. More listening for Dolores with her teenage son, because you want your son to start to speak out loud about how he's thinking and feeling about his experiences day to day, because they're still in formation. Nothing is concrete yet. He's still figuring stuff out. You got to stay engaged. But in both parents, and always, you have to set a boundary. There's only so far you'll go, right? So in Dolores, it's like, I don't want you guys to fight in front of me anymore. That's a boundary. Bang, that's not gonna happen anymore. And when that happens, I'm gonna walk out of the room, whatever. With Angela, the boundary is, we're gonna keep talking about this. We're gonna keep talking about this. I'm gonna keep paying attention. We're gonna keep talking. That's actually a boundary. The showing up boundary, the not letting go boundary. We're gonna keep on this. This is an important conversation, okay? That's a boundary. Okay, that's it. That's it. So thanks a lot for listening, and I will see you next Wednesday at noon. All right, see you later.